What's up, guys? Mitchell Pelk back with another episode of Pelk Talk. Today I sat down with the #1 lacrosse player in the 2021 class, Andrew McAdorey. Andrew plays at St. Anthony's High School and is committed to Duke. This kid's name has been in the spotlight for years now. Awesome to sit down with him and chat it up. One of the nicest kids I've ever met. Don't forget to listen on Apple and Spotify. Now, enjoy. What's up, guys? Mitchell Pelk back with another episode of Pelk Talk. Today I'm joined by Duke commit and #1 in the 2021 class, Andrew McAdorey. What's up, big dog? How you doing?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So before we start recording, we talked about, you playing your last high school lacrosse game, and it was actually sophomore year of high school, and obviously now you're a senior. So how does that kind of really work with you of coming up to this season, your senior year, and the last time you played was sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, we left on a high note, beat Chaminade in a really, really big game. The game was electric. There's a ton of people there. We're looking forward to getting on the field this year, but just missing last year, you miss lacrosse so much. You just want to be out there with your boys, get after it. So we're definitely looking forward to it. We're doing all that we can right now with the kind of the limited resources that we have. I think we're going once a week, limited contact. So it's tough, you want to compete with them, but, it's good to be out there with them. And we're just looking forward to getting some games and, getting back on the field and playing.
I love that. And we also talked about, that next year, your junior year and Brennan's senior year, that team was talked about to could be one of the best ever in that area. How does that kind of make you feel that, there's always just going to be talk now of what if, but you could never really go on paper and look at the numbers because it never happened.
Yeah. So, obviously, it's tough. It's in a situation where you feel bad for Brennan, you feel bad for Aidan, Danenza, all those guys, Jake Nasa, my Duke guys down there. But all the other seniors, they lost their senior season, so it's tough. Yeah. It's tough on all of us. But you look at it, and Coach Driver was always talking about it. He had Tom's team, where it was Tom, Chanachuk, Malloy, Will Manny. So they had talent too. But it's tough that we'll never be able to really size up against them, statistically and things like that. But it's just a running joke in the St. Anthony's community.
No, I love that. Well, let's start from the beginning. So you growing up in Long Island, obviously a huge lacrosse area. What was that like at a young age?
Yeah. So, always being around the game growing up, I love the game so much growing up. I always had a lacrosse stick in my hand. My dad didn't play, but, what was really cool about it is when I started with I went down to Florida to go visit my uncle, my cousins. And my uncle coaches down in Florida. He coached at Stoneman Douglas, and he coached at St. Andrews Prep for a little bit with Casey Powell. And my cousins both played. So I was actually at a tournament for my cousin, and I just picked up a lacrosse stick and was playing with my other cousin, and, I couldn't put it down. I loved it.
There we go.
So then after the tournament, my uncle took me to one of the locrosse stores, and he's just like, pick out a lacrosse stick, take it home, and keep it in your hand. So, I went over, picked out the, now that I think about it, the grossest green camo cross stick. I'm looking back at it, green mesh, no shooting strings. I'm like, dude, this is the most Brad thing ever. I love it. So, I picked that up and, bought it home and didn't put it down. And then my dad reached out to some guys. And, at the time, it didn't start until second grade. You couldn't really play with an organization or anything. So now I was 4 years old at this time. And, luckily, my dad reached out to his boss, actually, and, he ran it's like a program for second graders, like a PAL program.
Okay.
And he told me to just come down and just be like a water boy or just something like that, just to be around the game. So, I was fortunate enough to do that. He took me into the lacrosse shed, put a big helmet on me, put some big shoulder pads on me. I walked out looking like a bobblehead. But, just a little kid running around, having the time of his life. And then, eventually just hopped in and just started running around with those guys. So,
that's kind of how it started, huh?
Yeah. So that's how it all started. And then Long Island's just such a hotbed. So, you're constantly around kids who love lacrosse, and you're always playing, just trying to find more lacrosse. So.
No, I love that. I love how you kind of remember that whole kind of first go at the game and you hit it right on the head with that colorful stick, dude. Back in the day, I had blue head, red mesh, pink shooters, the rainbow stick. It was in. You look back and I just I look like a Johnson. That's really it. But let's keep going and kind of talk about, playing for Team 91 and kind of playing for that whole organization. And, you know, you guys are really under a microscope, obviously, when you're out there playing travel ball, because you guys are known as one of the best, you know, club organizations in the United States, especially that 2020, you know, 91 Crush team. You guys could go down as like the best ever. You know, how did you kind of really get involved with them in the beginning?
So before them, I was playing with the Express, you know, another big Long Island travel team. And, you know, I used to battle with them with Coach Joe. You know, we used to have our rivalry games, you know, Express 91's the Long Island rivalry. But, you know, he reached out to my parents and, you know, approached them about me coming over and playing with 91. And, you know, after that, my parents thought it would probably be best to go, you know, play with him. They like the philosophies that he has and, you know, kind of everything that he puts his fingerprint on in the lacrosse world kind of, you know, blossoms into something great.
Yeah.
So we definitely thought that he'd be the right guy to learn from. And, you know, ever since I went over there in third grade, you know, we kind of just trusted him with, you know, my talents and just playing with the team and just growing up with them and going all the way to the end.
Yeah. So you kind of went there at a young age. Was that hard to kind of make that decision at what, like 7, 8 years old to kind of leave your Long Island boys?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of what it comes down to, and I mean, lacrosse world is so small that you kind of, you know, everyone, right? So, so, you know, it's a new group of guys on Long Island that I already knew, you know, battling with them. It was cool to just kind of finally be like, you know, now I'm playing with you. I went over with my friend Aidan Danenza. He's down at Duke now. We both went over in third grade. So, I mean, I knew most of the guys. They embraced me really well, you know, going into that and playing with the new squad. But, I mean, I loved it. So I loved the environment there, being, you know, just high tempo all the time, you know, even from a young age. And, you know, it's just a bunch of kids who love lacrosse. So it kind of comes down to, you know, you kind of just fit in so well.
That's awesome. And how did you kind of take that with your parents of, you know, trusting Coach Spallina? I mean, did you guys really know him or his organization before accepting that offer and kind of playing with 91?
Yeah, so he was actually coaching the women's Adelphi team. I think he came off of 2 national championships.
Okay.
So, you know, we definitely knew he knew what he was talking about. You know, we played against him so much that we knew his philosophies, you know, in and out, things like that. And we saw kind of the structure that he had with his kids and also the vision that he kind of, you know, wanted to put together with this
creating. Yeah.
So, you know, my parents definitely bought into that and thought it was a great idea, everything that he wanted to do. We saw how much the kids really love the game and how they were willing to like kind of sacrifice their own time to go practice. And, you know, in third grade, we were going 3 times a week, 4 times a week for, you know, hours at a time. I think we got the legendary 3-hour practices, no water breaks. So,
I love that.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of kids who love being around the game. You know, we definitely knew that he had this vision and that he obviously could come through with it because, you know, he has so much, he's such a, you know, great resume when it comes to lacrosse and the lacrosse world. So
no, that's so true. He's a nice guy too. And kind of all said and done, I mean, obviously this summer in August, you'll be arriving at Duke, but for that team to kind of go down as, you know, possibly the best travel team ever in lacrosse, you know, with you being number 1 in 21, you know, Spallina being number 22 and O'Neill and number 1 in the 20, you know, how does that kind of like make you guys or make you feel that like all that work is finally paid off and you guys have kind of set that in stone of like kind of the best ever travel team?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's a great feeling, you know, especially being able to do it with those guys from a young age, you know, growing up with them, practicing, putting in all this work together. But I mean, you kind of look at it like, you know, one door is going to close, but another door is going to open, you know, going down to Duke next year, you're going to play with Brennan. And, you know, we're kind of in the same situation where you're going to be playing around all these talented kids. And you know, it's kind of helped me playing with the Crush, growing up with the Crush, because, you know, from the top of the depth chart to the bottom, you know, all these kids can go on any team and score goals, make big plays. So you kind of have to learn how to play with the ball, without the ball, with the ball, you know, beat your guy and also, you know, got to dodge your head up, you know, big IQ plays because, you know, one guy can't go to the goal and have 100 goals in it, like just like things like that. You know, you got to be able to play off the ball and things like that. So when it comes to college, it's going to be the same exact way. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's good that you realize that, and
yeah,
especially it seems like you realize that at a young age too.
yeah,
And when you were starting to play with 91 in the beginning, you were taking a lot of face-offs. Is that
mhm,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Did Spallina just see that in you, or is that really your position back in the day?
So my biggest thing growing up is I wanted to do everything. So
Really?
I used to when I was younger, I used to take goalie lessons. I used to do things like that.
Really?
Yeah, I just love the game so much. I always wanted to be around it. Was just kind of like a rat for trying to find lacrosse to play. But
Okay.
yeah, so I used to face off. That was kind of Coach Joe's big thing. It's like if we could face off and keep you on the offensive end, that might be huge. Keeping a Fogo on the field on defense. So he kind of always wanted to keep me on the field. And then eventually it just got to the point where I was kind of like, this whole facing off thing, my stick's getting all mangled up. It's kind of affecting the
Yeah.
way I'm shooting, stuff like that. So I had to take a little break from that and kind of just, started just doing, everything else besides that.
Yeah. And obviously you and Spallina always playing up. I think were you on that team? I know me and Brennan talked about it, but were you on that
Yeah.
team that played me and Sweet Lax at I think it was the Inside Lacrosse Invitational? Do you remember that at
Yeah.
all?
Oh, I remember that very
You were on
vividly.
the team, huh?
Yeah, I think the clips are still on YouTube floating around. It wasn't a great day for us, but yeah, yeah, I
No,
remember
I
that.
just remember from our team, like pregame, we're like, all right, well, we're playing a team that's younger than us, and they have this kid, Joey Spallini, that's like in sixth grade. So if we lose, like this is gonna look terrible on us. And it was big for us because that was like going into our ninth grade year, and at the time, obviously, with recruiting rules and everything, that was our summer. And like just like coming out and like I think we ended up beating you guys by like 4 or 5, but it's just so funny looking back that like you guys like had
Yeah.
the balls really to play up, and I mean you guys like stuck your ground a little bit.
Yeah, no, I remember that game, but it's you look back at it now and you really get to realize like how much talent was really in that game.
Yeah.
You guys were such a talented team, and obviously we had a lot of guys who are going into or in college now who are on these Division I teams, and eventually we're going to be competing, at the Division I level. So you could really go back on it and really appreciate, all the talent in that game. But I mean, at the time, it definitely stunk. Losing that was a tough day for us. But just going back on it, just looking back on it, it was a great experience.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of like I said, you and Spallina always being in the spotlight, playing up, people realize that. Did that ever kind of get to you at a young age?
Not really, because having Coach Joe, he always kind of put us in experiences, and like he would take us down. When he was coaching with the Lizards, take us down to the sidelines, things like that. So just being around the game, being around those guys, they constantly have the cameras on them and seeing how they deal with it, and kind of don't let it affect them. Kind of just do what they love. That kind of stuff really helped us, but also just making it about the team and things like that. We really never focused on any of that and focused on the self attention, kind of just more of getting the job done and just playing the sport that we love together, and kind of ultimately in the end, like winning. It's kind of what it
Yeah.
really comes down to.
That I love that. And kind of now that, like I said, it's all over. What do you remember most about, playing with that team? Is it the trips up? Is it staying in the hotels? Is it you're winning so many games? Is it all the new people you met? What's one thing that has kind of stuck out to you with playing with all those guys?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a ton of funny stories when it comes to those guys, both on and off the field. When we're just staying in the hotels and things like that, but staying with the families and things like that. But one thing I'll never forget with Coach Joe and with that team was I think I don't know what grade it was, but we were pretty young. We were going to Dick's Tournament of Champions. It was that tournament down in Florida. It was like
Florida,
the national,
yeah.
that national thing. And we were going a few days a week, and it started to get cold. So we would go inside and we'd go practice inside. And he was like, you know what? It's going to be hot down in Florida. I need everyone to show up with sweatshirts, sweatpants, and a long sleeve on inside. And I'm just like, this guy is crazy. Like, we're going to be sweating crazy. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to acclimate Florida. I'm going to get Florida weather down here, and you guys will be playing in Florida weather with all this. You're going to be sweating, all this
Oh, I
stuff.
love that.
So we're practicing, no water breaks. That's his thing. We're all sweating, going up and down, scrimmaging. His practices are super intense. But, we get down there for our first game, and, we go out, I think it was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. And, it was cold. We were like,
Yeah.
dude, like Yeah, you were telling us it's really hot, and we get the first day it's freezing.
The Florida mornings are cold, yeah.
Yeah, so it felt like back home. So we were like, dude, this is just so funny, just how that all happened. So yeah, that was just a memory I'll never forget.
That's awesome. And kind of fast forward up into your high school career, you know, in 8th grade, obviously going into high school, people know your name. How did you kind of make that decision to decide to play for St. Anthony's High School?
Yeah, so with St. Anthony's, my dad graduated from there, so that was always in the back of our head.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So I never went to public school. I think I went to public school for half a year in kindergarten or first grade. I don't know what it was. So I was always at these private schools. My parents just thought, education-wise, I thought I'd get a really good education from those schools. And so I never played school ball or anything like that up until high school. So we were always trying to figure out. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. You guys didn't have like a rec ball, like a rec league?
We did. It was like kind of the district thing for up until you get to like middle school, and then you start doing school ball. So I couldn't really do any of that because I wasn't a part of the school. So so we just we're trying to figure out in 8th grade what we were gonna do, and some boarding schools reached out, and I didn't want to really leave my family at the time. I was kind of young. Just leave them and kind of spend more time with them up until I got to college, and then. So I got to spend high school back home, my friends and my family, because I'm a big family guy. But then, we sat down with Coach Weisrick and Coach Schreiber and Coach Chanachuk. We competed against them with the Express. We knew them pretty well. And they had the idea of, when Brennan and all those guys came in, we'd have a pretty talented team of kind of bringing it to the national kind of schedule and play the top 25 teams, get some ESPN games. And, that really stood out to me and my family because, it's kind of unusual to kind of do that in Long Island because Long Island's such a hotbed. You kind of just play your public school teams. So, we looked at it like this is going to prepare me for the next level, playing in the big spotlight so it doesn't phase you when you get to college. It's just a regular game. Being able to play these top 25 teams, teams like, like all the teams in the top 25. And then, those are just the best kids from all around. So being able to do that, that really stuck out to us. And then obviously having Brennan and Aidan and all those guys that I kind of knew thought it'd make it pretty easy. Playing club ball with, yeah, pretty easy to transition over to high school.
That's awesome. And kind of going to that first St. Anthony's varsity lacrosse tryout, how nervous were you? Obviously having familiar faces like O'Neill and Aidan there to kind of help you, but how nervous were you for that?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous. I knew it was going to be different than travel ball. Obviously going into it because I never played school ball, like I said. But I definitely did have a lot of guys that helped make it easier to transition into that. Knowing Coach Weisrick and having such a great relationship with Coach Schreiber definitely helped. My freshman year, I think every single free that I had, I would go. Coach Schreiber works in the cafeteria. He runs like the food thing with Coach Schreiber, with Coach Weisrick. So I'd go over there and go spend every period that I had just talking with him about lacrosse. So awesome. He definitely made things easier. And then having guys, we had really good senior leadership that year with Brady Keneally and Jack Hawley. Those guys really took me under their wing and, made it easier. Made it so I wasn't just a freshman. I was just another guy on the team. So that definitely helped out a lot, helped out with me feeling more comfortable so that, I could perform and help the team as much as I could.
I love that. And at St. Anthony's, did you play any other sports or just lacrosse?
I just played lacrosse there.
Okay. Did you grow up playing any of the sports?
I really didn't. I think I played soccer in 7th grade at my small private school because that was the only sport they offered. So I did that, just have fun with it, and I didn't like it too much, but I just.
So you've always just been like level-headed lacrosse, like like I don't want this to sound bad or anything, but you're like the definition of like a lax rat.
Yeah, pretty much. Just always trying to find lacrosse, to play.
I love that though.
That's the way it was. You were always just trying to find lacrosse to play around here. And then finally, when it got to the winters, we got exposed to box lacrosse. So that
just kept it going.
Predominantly.
So kind of off topic, but what do you do besides playing lacrosse or working out?
So I love snowboarding. Snowboarding's my
Do you
thing.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've been
that's sick.
snowboarding since I was 6. My mom made me do it. She was like, "Hey, this is one of those sports that if you don't know how to do it, you can't go with your friends because you're just gonna
Yeah.
get hurt or something like that, and you won't be able to keep up with them. And they're gonna have to wait up for you." So she made me do that when I was younger. Best thing she ever did.
Yeah.
Because now I get to go with my friends and we'll have a good time snowboarding. But I love snowboarding. I love everything about it. Just you're able to be creative when you're snowboarding. No two snowboarders are the same. Everyone's able to kind of express themselves in a different way. So that's kind of just the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, I love that. So obviously, getting to high school, like we said, people are starting to realize your name, playing up and playing with 91. And obviously the recruiting rules changed. So it wasn't like when I was getting recruited, when coming into ninth grade, like that was the biggest summer. They've obviously changed. So, 2 seasons under your belt at St. Anthony's in the recruiting process and September 1st coming up. How stressful and nerve-wracking was that for you, kind of coming closer to that September 1st date?
With the whole September 1st thing, we didn't know what to really expect. It did get put into place for the 2020s. It kind of affected some of them a little bit, but a lot of them were already committed prior to it. So, this was kind of the first year, and they kind of hyped it up as the first year, the test year, for everything. But, having Coach Joe to help me a lot, he was going to be recruiting girls, for Stony Brook. So he kind of knew what to expect going into it. So he definitely helped my family out a ton with that. And then having obviously Coach Weisrick and Coach Schreiber, they know so much about talking to these schools and so much about the schools and talking to the different coaches that they definitely helped out with that. But, I was definitely nervous going into it. I was at Midnight Mania.
How was that? Kind of talk through that.
Oh, that was awesome. They did a great job with that. Being able to play at like 2:00 in the morning, so early in the morning, that's definitely something you dream about as a little kid, when you love the game so much. So that was definitely a cool experience. And just to bring everyone, all this talent to one place and just kind of compete, I thought that was great in itself too. But, coming out of that, we get home. I had some texts on my phone, and then the next morning, your phone was just ringing off the hook. So, that was a different experience in itself. And then just kind of contacting all these coaches, I thought it was pretty cool. And you kind of just you gotta enjoy it. You can't really stress out too much about it because then it kind of gets to you, but you just kind of enjoy it and, let it all go as it may.
No, I love that. I think that's big too. And kind of that whole process comes and goes so quick. I mean, it's one day, it's a couple of days. You start getting these calls and you're figuring out, you're kind of getting your list and setting up visits and making your decision. And I always tell people, just enjoy the process. I truly think like right around that September 1st, your junior year is like a special moment in your life. You're making that decision on your future. And so after that September 1st and in the next couple of days, you got a bunch of calls. Did you start setting up visits after visits every weekend after that?
Yeah. So going into it, we kind of made a list. We figured, if we were going to kind of visit all these schools, it'd be too much. So we made a list of schools. I narrowed it down, I think, like five schools. I think it was like Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, Virginia, Duke, obviously, Maryland. We visited those schools. We set those visits up, went down there. Each school's obviously, got its own unique thing that makes it so special when it comes to, lacrosse and, the culture for the lacrosse team and, obviously the school in general. But I think Duke was the last visit. And, once I got there, I just knew that that was kind of the place that I was meant to be at.
Yeah. Growing up, was that always at the top of your list as a young buck or no?
Yes. So, I mean, going into it, obviously, like, you're growing up, you see Duke's always competing for, these Final Fours and, they're always competing for a championship. They're always at these, the big stages. And you watch guys like, obviously, like Ned Crotty and Matt Danowski, Jordan Wolf, like dominating the game in a Duke uniform. And you kind of dream about one day, that being you or something like that. So it was definitely one of those dream school opportunities. Going into the whole situation, me growing up, obviously being a Duke fan, but, you go through phases when you're younger, and all these different schools kind of bounce around, and you kind of like different schools at the time. But Duke was one of those schools that always stuck with me.
I love that. And when you kind of first visited Duke, like you said on that last visit, what was the big wow factor that kind of made you really want to commit there and end up going to college there?
Yeah, so we were actually fortunate enough to go visit when it was family weekend. So there was a ton of family members down there, so they had a scrimmage late in the day. I think it was at late at night. I think it ended at probably 9:30. All the family members just came in. Coaches were there, and they were all talking. And just the family atmosphere that they had there really stuck out to me and stuck out to my parents. And that really resonated with me. And I was kind of like, that's the kind of environment I'm looking for. Obviously Duke's such a great school. And it has such great athletics too that come along with it. But that whole family atmosphere, everyone being so close, it's definitely something that I took away from that trip that really stuck with me and stuck with my family.
That's awesome. And the reasoning, you essentially committed about 2 months after September 1st. And, is that reason just to take your time and visit all those schools and really weigh out your options with your family?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, each of these schools is just so great, and it's got their own little things. And, some of the schools are so similar that it comes down to the nitty gritty little things like distance and all those different things, environment, location that goes into the process of selecting a school. So we definitely didn't want to rush things. We weighed out every single option that we had. We kind of wanted to just enjoy the process and let it all come and not rush into any decisions. So, we finished all of our visits that we set up, and then we just sat down with my family, sat down with Coach Joe, and, really discussed the different things that would apply for kind of our checklist to see which school was the best. And, Duke kind of checked all those off, and that's why we picked Duke.
There you go. I love that. So kind of going back, to the rankings and you getting placed at number one in your class, the 2021 class, what type of moment was that for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a huge moment in the sense of, it's a great honor, obviously to get that title. But, obviously what comes along with that is you're gonna have a big target on your back. Yeah. And, a lot of work goes into it. So you're going to have to work twice as hard because, everyone's kind of coming for you. Everyone's gunning for you once you step on the field. And being with the Crush for so long, that's kind of the way it was as a team. Coach Joe's always told us that you got to come out there and perform at your best every single time you step on that field because, you're getting everyone's best game. It's like they're playing the Yankees. You're getting everyone. I love that. You're getting everyone's best game. So you kind of got to show up and dominate. So I knew that with that would come a target on my back. And I thought that Coach Joe, kind of helped prepare me with that. And saying that, you got to maintain this, you got to practice 10 times harder than everyone else and kind of do those extra things that not everyone's doing.
Yeah. And you hit it there, but like you and Spleen always playing up, having that pressure, like of performing at the level you're playing at, usually a year above, like that pressure, you guys are kind of already dealt, that card early in your life. And it seems like you guys handled that well. So, when you get in this title of, number one in the 2021 class, like if kind of honestly probably felt like nothing. And you guys were already probably getting the chirps and getting the trash talk because your name is so much out there. But, playing high school ball and really knowing everyone on the field and in the crowd, how was that with the pressure getting dealt to you then and the trash talking with the people that are guarding you and the fans?
Yeah. So obviously a lot of trash talk goes into it. You're constantly getting chirped by people on the field, and obviously people always got their 2 cents to put in, but you just got to block it out. We've been dealing with it for so long, obviously going back with the Crush. We've been dealing with it for a minute now. So, we just always just focused on, making that next play, doing everything that you can to put all your teammates in the best positions to succeed. And ultimately comes down to, just winning the game at the end. It's kind of what it's all about. So you just tune it out, after you hear it so many times, it kind of gets old, and
Yeah.
I laugh about it because you're like, you
Yeah.
heard it one so many times. Like, why do you keep telling me this? Yeah. So, you just gotta just move on with it and just block it out and just kind of do your thing. 'Cause that's the only thing you can control. Coach always says, control the controllables. You can't control that outside noise, but you can control putting the ball in the back of the net, or feeding someone and them scoring a big goal. So.
No, I love that. And I actually was obviously doing my research and read this article that your favorite movie is Mighty Ducks. That was in 9th grade. Is it still Mighty Ducks?
Yeah, no, I love that.
Is it really?
Classic. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that movie.
So. I love that. I thought that was just so funny. But last question, before we wrap this up, 7 months and you arrive at Duke, how excited, are you to really make this thing happen and be honestly at your dream school?
Yeah, so I'm really excited, to just get down there and really just be a part of the Duke family and, firsthand and be with those guys every single day. But, I'm also excited to just learn, from the coaching staff. They have such a great coaching staff there, a ton of accolades, when it comes to coaching and both playing. And then also I'm just excited to get down there and, learn from those guys because, there's so much talent down there, right now, and just being able to compete with those guys, but, also learn from some of those older guys, what it's like to, be a college athlete, be a Duke lacrosse player, just things like that. And just being in a different system, for the first time in a while is going to be something nice, but also not being too different because, they got so much of a Long Island kind of flair down there. They got so many Long Island guys that are already down there. So, it's
no,
nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
We kind of rated home with that. But Andrew, man, I appreciate you coming out, man. This is Pelk Talk Podcast. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you this season and in the future. All right, big dog?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and best luck to you too.